Kral space. I am Kim Kral. Hi, I'm reporting to you not live from my closet. Hi, everybody. Hi. I am recording this early. I'm very proud. I'm getting these episodes about a week early, so that's pretty awesome. So today I'm recording. It's International Women's Day, and I like this day because people post a lot of cool shit about women, and I think it's nice. I just think it's nice. Normally every year I post something about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Instead, today I posted something about my book and with half of my butt showing. I love that post gets like 500 likes, but the one about my lovely grandma got 100. I guess the people want the thirst traps. Although every time I post something like really thirsty on Instagram, I lose like 6 followers. But I don't know. Every day I gain and lose like 10 followers. So there's no way to tell. You know what I mean? Like it could just be like bots went away or I made someone mad without knowing it. I get unfollowed by people I know a lot that, you know, like later I'm like, oh, I wonder when that guy unfollowed me. What are you going to do? You know? Which I'm glad, like when I'm in a bad headspace, it really bothers me. And I'll like think about like, what did I do? Like this girl the other day, I noticed like this like comic who I've met once way before COVID, and I didn't really care for her. And I'm assuming, I don't know, nor in my experience, when you don't really care for someone, they don't really care for you either. Like you, right? But I keep following her because we have all these mutual friends, and I assume eventually I'll run into her. So I was just like, oh, I'll just follow her. But her posts kind of annoy me, so I just muted it, right? And like 3 days ago, she came up somewhere, and then I saw that she wasn't following me, and I was like, what a bitch. And then I was like, well, you don't like her either. She's just the one that was, you know, like more, I don't want to say real about it, but was just like, oh, I don't want to follow her. And then I was like, why didn't I just do that? Because I don't like her either. But when I'm in like a really bad headspace, it like really bothers me. But now I lost like 5 followers today when I posted my International Women's Day post. And I don't know. I know one comedian woman says that every time she posts anything thirsty, she loses like 10 followers. Every time she posts anything thirsty or about politics, she's like, I lose 10 followers. And I'm like, what? It's so funny. It's stick to the jokes, ladies. You know, like there's people who tell us to stick to our jokes, and you know, just like they tell LeBron to stick to basketball instead of having, God forbid, he has an opinion. You know, like we're funny, but God forbid we talk about anything other than like dick jokes. Like we're just your puppets and robots. I don't know where that came from, but yeah, so I'm really proud of myself because I've been keeping up with it. Where, as I said, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you get the episodes early, and so I was trying to figure out a good routine to do that, and so you'll get it a week early, and so you know. Every week you'll get it early. So if you want to prescribe, if you want to subscribe, right? Yeah. To Patreon, you get bonus episodes and you get the episode early. And also, I don't know, some other stuff I'm trying to figure out. I think that's a lot though. Like the bonus episode's pretty rad. It's one of them is my sexual revolution, where I do a monthly episode where I talk about my sex life and freeing my vagina. I don't know what that means. I don't know why I said it that way. I'm sorry. And then the other one is like last month, I talked about my bisexuality. Again, I feel weird calling myself bisexual. I think sexuality is like fluid. At least it is for me, you know. I've had crush on women. I've had crush on men. I've had crush on women. I can't believe I just said it like that. And then I have a monthly bonus episode on Patreon with comedian Jeff May, where we just sort of shoot the shit, and everyone seems to really like it. He and I have been friends for a long time. And we've been guests on various podcasts throughout the years, and we just have a really good banter. And people have always been being like, hey. And then he has a podcast called Jeff Has Cool Friends. And I guess he asked me to do it, I don't know, last year sometime. And he was like, you were like the #1 requested podcast guest, like, because people heard us on Unpopular Opinion years ago. I don't know, we just like fight, but like in a cute way. I have no idea. But people like it. So if you want to become a Patreon subscriber, yeah, that would be awesome. Let's see what's going on. Also, so International Women's Day is today when I'm recording this, and also the Denver Broncos got Russell Wilson. Dude, it felt like it was my birthday. I got so many text messages and emails today. Like people were like, "Hey, congratulations." The neurotic swinger that I sometimes sleep with, he's a Seahawk fan, and he texts me and he's like, this week couldn't get any worse. And then he asked if he could come over for a blow job later. If you don't listen, if you haven't listened to the Sexual Revolution episode, you have no idea who that is. But no, there was like on the regular Crawl Space, not the Patreon one. He's just a guy I sometimes sleep with who is neurotic and is a swinger. But I love him. He's so funny. He's the only person I know who uses semicolons in texts. He's so neurotic. But yeah, he's a Seahawk fan. And he's like, I deserve a blowjob. And I was like, why do you get a blowjob over that, dude? If you want to come over later this week, I could probably fit you in. I don't know, though. So, you know how last week I was kind of complaining about my ankle and how it was really hurting? Well, it hasn't gotten better, like at all. It's actually getting worse. And it's like yesterday I elevated it. I didn't realize elevating it meant above your heart, which I don't fully understand why that does anything, but it did help it a little bit today. It felt a little bit better today. It's wrapped up now. It feels better when it's wrapped up. And I'm going to get an x-ray tomorrow because my buddy Whitney told me that there's a possibility I fractured a bone, like a hairline fracture, and I Googled it and it was like, yeah, if you have a broken ankle, you can actually walk on it pretty easily. And I was like, that's not, because I remember when I broke my arm, like I couldn't use it. Like that thing was useless for 6 weeks. I've been walking on my ankle for like 3. I mean, it's increasingly getting worse and my knee is really starting to hurt. So, but yeah, Whitney says he walked on his ankle for like a year and then finally went to the doctor and they were like, yeah, you have a hairline fracture. So I am trying to stay out of the wreckage of the future with that, because like it is really scary, because all of the ways I make money is I stand, right? I'm not an office job person. So like all the ways I make money is on my feet. So I'm trying to stay out of the wreckage of the future. And hopefully it's just like, oh, I don't know. Everything I've Googled there, it's either like surgery or it'll be fine, but it'll take 12 weeks to heal. That's insane. Which really bums me out because I was really enjoying running, but you know, hopefully it's not forever. And I will be back out running very soon. That'd be wild if I broke my ankle. So embarrassing because it's not even like, at least when I broke my arm, I don't know if I told you guys this, when I broke my arm, I broke it skipping. Hear me out. I think maybe I've told you this. I know I keep promising I'm going to, by the way, if I did go through all the 100 episodes and I wrote down everything that I had talked about, I still wouldn't remember in this moment if I had told this story or not. So I have this idea for TikTok that was suggested to me by a friend. So I am going to go through all the episodes and clip them up or whatever. So I will be able to see, but I won't remember. I'm forever a story repeater. But yeah, I broke my arm skipping. It's kind of grim because when I broke it, the morning I broke it was the morning. It was in 2017, November of 2017. I was in the shower. It gets grim and then it's kind of a funny story. So I guess I could just skip the grim part, but then I wouldn't be myself. But I was in the shower and I had the first ever vivid memory of my father molesting me. I'd known, like I had cut him out of my life and he had died like 2 years prior. Right. So like, I always knew that he had like touched me, but I never had any real memories up into that point. But all the stuff that I did remember that he did do, like therapists were like, yeah, if your dad was around children. And then like one therapist once told me, if your dad was around children, and this is before I like severed ties with him, before we became estranged. She was like, if your father was in California and I knew he was around children, legally, I'd have to report him for just the little I had told her, because I hadn't known very much. So I don't know why I felt like I had to like defend that I had the memory so late, but I had like my first like vivid memory, like where I was like, oh, fuck. Because part of me always hoped that maybe it wasn't really that bad and maybe I was just crazy. And then I had that memory. And it was a football Sunday. I went to the Bronco bar. I went to the Bronco bar and the Broncos who now have Russell Wilson. Dude, that's so rad. Went to the Bronco bar, which was Outpost in Hollywood. And I proceeded to just get really, really, really drunk. I mean, I can't blame a girl. She fucking had that memory. I dare you to have that kind of memory and not like somehow, like disassociate in some way, right? And so I met this guy, Ed. Oh, poor Ed. Ed's fine now. Ed is off with, I think he's like married almost. I'm not sure, but I met this guy, Ed, and we got really drunk together. And then we decided to go to Hooters, I think in Koreatown. I think, or not Hooters, Buffalo Wild Wings in Koreatown. So we get in an Uber and then we get out of the Uber and I skipped out of the Uber thinking it was like cute, right? Like I thought it was being cute, but I fell and I broke my arm. But like I was so drunk that I didn't like, I was able, like I fell, like basically did a somersault on the pavement and then jumped back up and like did like this landing. And he was like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine. Let's go get more drinks." And I was 100% not fine. And so we go to Buffalo Wild Wings, we get a beer. I'm so drunk and my arm hurts so because it was broken, but it hurts so bad. And it's just getting more and more swollen. And we're just like, and then we're like, let's go to Jumbo's Clown Room because that's what we should do. So we go to Jumbo's Clown Room. And this is like right before my massive rock bottom. This is before I met Jimmy the Dragon, all the cocaine, and then before I found ACA, like maybe like 5 months prior. So this was like the beginning of the spiral, right? And so we go to Jumbo's Clown Room. And if you don't live in LA, you don't know what that is. It is a dance club. It's like they're like girls dance. They're not naked at all. Like there's no top, like they're like in bikinis. Courtney Love got her start there. It's like it's a really popular joint. I think when I think of Jumbo's Clown Room, I think of Jimmy the Dragon had this married friend. I can't remember what that guy's name was, but he was like obsessed. He was like the married guy who every time his wife was gone, he was like, let's go to a strip club. But for some reason he wanted to go to Jumbo's. I don't know if he felt that it was less weird because he only like his wife was like one of those people who wouldn't be okay with him going to a strip club. So I don't know if he thought it was like less weird if we went to a place that just had bikinis. But what made it weird was he was the weirdo. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you've been to a strip club and you don't know what I'm talking about, you're probably the weirdo that does this, but stands like at the front of the stage, which is like your mouth open, just like putting dollars down. Look, they're there to be tipped for sure. Tip. But like, I went like there was a guy years ago I went with super hot guy named Chase, but then he was a big gun nut. So that was and he called a bar his Bat Cave. And I was like, yep, I don't have a lot of standards, Chase, but this is where I draw a line. But he was tipping really well, but he wasn't like this guy always standing up there like hoping to take down his pants, right? So creepy. There's a vibe. There's a different vibe. But so Jimmy the Dragon's like best friend always, every time I think of Jumbo's, I always think of that. But Ed and I go to Jumbo's that night. My arm's broken. We go to Jumbo's. It's closed. So Ed's like, let's go back to my place. And I was like, yeah, my arm is broken. But I don't know my arm's broken. Because I grew up in like a walk it off family. Like, walk it off. And that's why I'm a little afraid about this ankle thing because I've been walking on it for a while and it's really starting to hurt and itch. And I kind of feel like dizzy and tired. And I don't know if they're related, but I don't know, man. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. So, and then I'm going to ask him about my COVID headaches that have been getting a lot worse and the bad diarrhea I still have. It's been 3 weeks and I still... but maybe it's all together. Maybe it's all tied together. Maybe my body's just stressed out because I have a broken bone that I just refuse to fix. I've been icing it, whatever. So Jumbo's is closed. He's like, let's go back to my place. We go back to his place. He's got this cute dog. I can't remember the dog's name. And he smells so bad, but he's so cute. He looks like Scotty. I think it's Scotty from Lady and the Tramp. The little black dog, the little Scottish terrier. Looks like him. And I ask Ed if he has ice, and he does not. I was like, I really think I need to ice. He's like, no. I think he had like a beer fridge. Like it was like a tiny studio. and he had like a beer fridge, and he gave me like a weird, not ace bandage, but kind of like an ace bandage to wrap my arm up in. So then we start fooling around, and I try to give him a blowjob, but like if you have to like kind of you prop yourself up with one arm and then you use your hand and your mouth. I feel like if you're doing it properly, right? And so I couldn't prop myself up on my broken arm. And then I thought, okay, well, I'll prop myself up on the good arm and then I'll use my broken arm. And then I finally was like, Ed, I can't do this. I can't. My arm is broken. I just have to go to bed. And he's like, oh, okay. So we pass out, wake up in the morning, and I'm like, I got to go home. What the fuck am I doing with my life? Right. I got to go home. So I get up, I get an Uber. Of course, Ed doesn't drive me home. He was not a Prince Charming. I get in an Uber. I mean, maybe I know Ed's doing well. I know he has like a good job and like a fiance or some shit. Like we still follow each other on Instagram. So there's no bad blood there. I for sure owe him an amends. We'll get to that. Maybe for this too. But yeah, he didn't drive me home. I have a fucking broken arm. And he's like, bye, I don't want to lose my parking spot. You can call your own Uber. And so I Uber home and my arm hurts. So, I mean, it was broken. So I was just like, fuck. So I go upstairs, I lay down and I'm like, all right, well, I'll just like, and I'm so hungover. So I just like, and I don't have a job at this time, right? No job, about to spiral down into my rock bottom, broken arm. And I wait like 3 days just laying in bed in the same clothes, just in so much pain. And I was insured too, which is crazy. Like I had insurance. Like a lot of times people won't go to the doctor and like put it off because they don't have insurance. But I have insurance. I'm just I just grew up with a man who was like, who one time I think I told you guys this. One time my little cousin went to the ER and my dad was like, I was like, oh, why'd she go to the ER? And he's like, because she stopped breathing for like 5 minutes. They baby her. And like at the time I was like, yeah, what a baby. And then I became an adult and I was like, no, that's a solid reason to take your child to the ER. And 5 minutes sounds like a long time, but I imagine it was like a couple of minutes, right? I guess she fell off a bunk bed or some shit and like knocked the wind out of her and she didn't breathe for a little bit. So they got scared and they took her to the ER. And my dad was like, they baby her. So, cut to 20 years later after having a memory of that guy molesting me, I'm laying in bed going, I don't need to go to the doctor because I don't need to be babied. So I finally called my buddy Alex and was like, hey, I think I broke my arm. Can you take me to the ER? And he's like, yeah, I'll be right there. So we get to the ER and I'm like filling out the paperwork and then they take me in the back and like four separate nurses come in separately, right? Come in and be like, hi, honey. So what happened? And I was like, the first one I was like, I fell down. I was skipping. And she was like, okay. We'll get the doctor in here soon. And I was like, all right. And the second one came in like a few minutes later. She's like, hi, honey, just checking in on you. So what happened exactly? And I was like, I fell down skipping. Like the story's getting more embarrassing to tell. And then the fourth one, I was like, yo, don't you guys talk to each other? Like 4 of you have asked me this. I fell down skipping. Where's my friend? So I text my buddy Alex, but I was like, dude, why won't they let you come back here? And he goes, because they think that I hit you. And I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, because a grown woman skipping is less believable than me beating you up. And I was like, I feel like that has more to do with your gender than me skipping. Like, don't shame me because your gender can't stop beating up our gender, right? But I guess the women, all the nurses and doctors thought it was like I ran into a doorknobs type of story. So they were like separating us to make sure it wasn't like domestic abuse, which isn't really that funny, but it's kind of funny because I really did fall skipping, but it also is nice that like they were, looking out for me. And so my favorite part about this whole thing is anytime you're a comedian and you're in like a new place and there's a crowd and you're like crushing, you feel so alive. So I'm talking to we're signing out and they're giving me my brace and whatever and giving me like instructions on, because you have, in order to like get a bone doctor, you have to get like your insurance has to like give you like a referral. It was a whole thing. I had to call and like leave a lot of angry messages because they were like, we'll get to it. And I was like, my arm is fucking broken. But So we're like signing out or whatever, and I'm crushing, right? I'm telling jokes. Alex is rolling his eyes. He's a comedian too, though, so he gets it. Everyone's laughing. I'm telling jokes. Finally, the doctor goes, "Man, I can't believe you waited like 3 days to come here. Like, it's a pretty bad break. Like, you have a pretty high pain tolerance." And I was like, and everyone's laughing, right? And I was like, "Nah, I had a really mean dad." And then everyone stopped laughing. And then I was like, "Oh, he died though, so it's fine." And then Alex and I laughed, but that was decidedly the end of the story. Nobody else laughed in there. They were like, "Ew, yikes." But so that was the last time we broke a bone. And man, I really did the I didn't hear from Ed again for a long time. And then there was this girl that was I started dating Jimmy the Dragon, and there's this girl that has I don't know how to describe her, man. I don't know. She doesn't. I'm a villain in this woman's story, and she has actively tried to like ruin my life for a while now. I mean, like 15 years, like where I'll meet people who hear like horrible rumors about me, and I'll be like, "Oh, I bet you met that girl. Yep, she doesn't like me. None of it's true. She's a liar." But so Jimmy and I started, and Jimmy and her were kind of friends, I guess. I don't know. That's a whole other story. But I was in Denver after Jimmy and I started dating, and he called me one day and he's like, "I thought you and I were going to only see each other," which is wild. So codependent. He and I met like 2 days before I went to Denver. So 2 days in, we're like, we're in love. This is it. We're going to spend our lives together. Fucking codependent. And so fucking, oh my God, I'm so grateful for that experience because it forced me into a rock bottom that I desperately needed. But I look back on it and I'm just like, ew. If you want to hear the whole Jimmy story, and you haven't bought it yet, it's the last chapter of my book, Confessions of a Recovering Party Girl. Like how I just slipped it in there that you should buy my book if you haven't bought it yet. But so what am I saying? Oh yeah, so we're on the phone and Jimmy's like, "Yeah, I thought we were going to be exclusive. Like you're like date like well no, he didn't even say that yet. He goes, "Who's Ed?" And I was like, "Ed." And mind you, it'd been like a month since this whole Ed thing went down, right? I mean, I still was in my cast, but I was about to get out of my cast. And I was like, "Ed." And he goes, "Yeah, Ed. And I have an uncle, Ed." And I was like my uncle, Ed? How do you know about him? And he's like, "Not your uncle, Ed, Kim, the guy you were dating. Like, I thought you and I were exclusive." And I was like, "Oh, Ed?" I was like, "Well, I'm not dating Ed. I haven't talked to Ed in like a month. Like, that was never even a thing." And this girl who's like trying to ruin my life didn't like that I was dating this guy. So she told him that I had a boyfriend and said it was Ed because she knew Ed. I guess. I don't know. I never really asked her about it. I tried to steer clear of that human. But I was like, yeah, I was like, that was a long time ago. And it like caused kind of a weird fight. And then the reason why I owe Ed an amends, I mean, I think he's fine now. And also he spent the next like 6 months later, like 4 months messaging me on Facebook to go get a beer with him. And I just was like, "No, man, I don't want to. I hit a rock bottom and I'm trying not to date." But we ran into Ed, Jimmy and I, months later, and we were drunk or high or, just fucked up. And Ed was like, "Hi." And I was like, "Yeah, Jimmy, this is Ed." And Jimmy looked at Ed and he goes, "Oh, ha, you're right. I have nothing to worry about," and walked away. And Ed was like, "Oh." And I felt so bad about that. Again, Ed is fine. He has like another dog and a fiance. Like he's happy. I think it would be more harm than good if I were like, "Hey Ed, I'm really sorry about that thing that happened 4 years ago. I was in a bad way." But yeah, that's the story of my broken arm and a lot of little characters along the way. So tomorrow I will be getting an x-ray to find out. I'm trying to stay out of the wreckage of the future, right? Like where it's just like, I don't have any answers yet. I probably can work as long as they don't put me up on a crazy cast, like as long as I don't know, I'm bartend all weekend this weekend, and next weekend and the following weekend, which is great. I'm grateful for the work and the money, but I hope my ankle's not broken. Yeah, the other day was my grandma's birthday. I don't know why not more people think this is wild, but I think it's wild. Both of my grandmas have the same birthday. They're both born on March 5th. I want to say it again. Both of my grandmas were born on March 5th. I thought that was like the coolest thing as a kid. And like, I mean, my one grandma was a Jehovah's Witness, so birthdays weren't really at all a thing we ever talked about on that side. So like, no one really, I guess no one cared because no one celebrated her birthday, but I thought it was rad. And I made a post about my other grandma. My other grandma, I dedicated part of my book to her and my papa. She would have been 101. Isn't that wild? I think about that woman every day. She died like 12 years ago. I think about her like every day. She was, she's like my mom. Like, she's there. Her along with Aunt Amy were like my mother. 101, dude. And then my other grandma, I realized I don't have very many. I have no pictures of her. I have no pictures of her and I have no pictures of her. I mean, we weren't not close. It just, the religion stuff, my mom's alcoholism, it just all made for a really hard way to get to know someone, get to know well, I mean, I was like 14 when she passed away. So I'm sure if she was still alive now, I probably would be different. And I don't even know if that's true. Her husband lived until about 5 years ago, and I didn't really have a relationship with him either. I mean, that breaks my heart because I loved my granddad. He was actually one of the first people I ever made laugh, and was one. Damn it! The ace bandage thing where the like little clips, they fall off so easily. Oh my God, it makes me so mad. And then Lucy gets a hold of it, and then she plays with it, and then I can't find it for a few days. This whole injury has annoyed me so much. I'm so annoyed. And also, yeah, that's what I started the whole skipping story with. I haven't even done anything. You want to know how I injured myself? I was running in the wrong shoes and I didn't stretch correctly before and after the 6 times I ran. And the 6 times I ran like a mile and a half, like not even like, it's not like I ran like a marathon and then like, I don't know, it not even cool. I just like, I heard it. And then I ran on it another day and made it worse. And now it really hurts. And I was like, there's no way I broke it. And that's why it's called a hairline fracture. There's probably or maybe it's not. Maybe it just needs I have no idea. But yeah, so I mean, like, yeah, the religion, they're Jehovah's Witnesses. And it makes it really hard to get close to my family that is Jehovah's Witness. I tried over the pandemic, early episodes of Crawl Space, you can hear all about that. But I tried, but we had a boundary. We set in a boundary when we first started Zooming, and they don't like it when they don't like swearing. So, I say fuck a lot. So they were like, can you try not to swear? And I was like, yeah, I'll accept that boundary if you guys honor my boundary of, I don't want to hear about your religion. Like, I don't want to be recruited. I don't want, like, I don't think you should have done this when I was 10 either, but I'm not like a little girl who has no idea what she believes in. Like, I have a pretty strong spiritual practice. Like, I have a pretty strong faith in my own higher power. Like, you're not like, I'm not lost. I'm not, it'll just annoy me and push me away more than anything. But I didn't say that. I was just like, I just don't want to hear about it. And it was like, I don't know, maybe a month or two of Zooming, and it was really fun and it was great. And we got to talk about my mom, and I got to hear all these fun memories about her when she was a kid. And, we all shared the same sadness that, my mom's not in their lives anymore either, because her addiction and mental illness has caused her to believe that we are all really bad guys. Right. Last time I was going to see her, she told me if I came near her house, she was going to call the FBI on me. She's just not a well lady. And so we all shared that sadness about how we miss, my mom was just this vibrant, wonderful lady who just my favorite person in the world. We miss her. Right. And we got to share that. And but then pretty soon we started sending me emails and messages about coming over to the truth. And how about you just come to this one meeting, or and then the final straw was, my aunt was like, when she tried to use my women's advocacy as a way to get me to go to a thing, she was like, oh, I know you really give a fuck about women's rights. And I was like, well, you don't, you guys don't, like, you guys don't believe that we should have autonomy over our bodies. And also you have like the subservient, whatever, but I really, and then we started talking about my comedy, and they said things like, if you were more like Jim Gaffigan for some reason, we would probably watch your comedy. And that's sort of how they operate, in my experience. Like, if you fit in this little box, we'll love you. But if you don't fit in the little box, it's just not, it's just conditional love. And it's a bummer, but that's a big reason why my grandma died and I never got really close, is because there was always like, conditions and but she did teach me how to play speed, the card game Speed. I'm really good at that game, or at least I was. I haven't played it in years, but I mean, I was really good at it. Like, beat. The only person I couldn't beat was her, but everyone else would be like, I'm pretty good. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. Like, adults would get frustrated because I was really good at it. But she loved Elvis. And sometimes she would give me, little presents here and there. My mom was always like, well, yeah, because she knows that she doesn't, celebrate your birthday or Christmas. So she wants you to know that she loves you. And she used to make Dutch honey, which I have no idea what that is, but she used to make it when we would go. They lived on a farm in a place called Flagler, Colorado. And we would go there some weekends, and they would make pancakes, and she'd make Dutch honey. And it was hands down the most delicious thing I've ever tasted in my life. And I would kill to get her recipe. I probably could just ask one of my aunts. But so fucking good. Oh my God. The door, it's dark in my apartment, except for in my bedroom, and Henry just opened it. I just don't like cracked doors and then darkness on the other side. I don't like it. It freaks me out. Oh man, what was I talking about? Oh, grandma. Yeah, and she passed away. She passed away when I was Dutch honey. She passed away when I was 14. It was like the first major death. Like, my great grandma and my Aunt Irvine died when I was pretty young, but like I was pretty young. But my grandma was like when I was 14, she went into a really, really minor surgery. And it was literally like she was coming down to Denver to go to have this minor surgery, and we were going to go see her in the hospital the next day. But they accidentally like clipped an artery. Like, I don't know. I feel weird. I probably already said it on the record, so maybe I shouldn't be freaked out about it. But no one has talked about it. No one will talk about it. But Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in blood transfusions. And I believe that there would have been a way to save her, but they don't believe in that. And, that's her belief, and her, and that's her right. So I full-heartedly, it sucks that we had to lose her when she was like 60, but like, that's how what that woman believed. But I know that they tried to do like they tried to sue the hospital, and that didn't really pan out. I don't know. I was really young, and we were not allowed. It was not a discussion. There was no discussion, and no one in my life now. I don't have anybody from that family really in my life now. And if the ones that I kind of do, we're not close enough for me to be like, yo, did your religion, was that the reason it took out grandma at 60? So I don't know, but that's just always been a hunch. And my dad always had the hunch too, which is just so sad to me. But yeah, their birthdays were on the same day. I think Wanda was my mom's name. Wanda and Dorothy. Wanda is an awesome name. If I ever have a daughter, there's got to be a word named Wanda in there. It's just an awesome name. She would have been like 87. Isn't that wild, man? So wild. So wild. Oh, so I wanted to tell this story a long time ago. And I don't know how to start it. So you know how I have my little list of like things I'm going to tell you guys? So this is on the list, and it's called my International Soccer Stardom card. Okay, I don't know. I don't think I've ever told you this, but I still have it, and it brings me so much joy. So my best friend and I, and Catherine in high school, we used to love to go to Chuck E. Cheese. Yes, the children's place. It was way easier to get into Chuck E. Cheese in the 90s than it is now without a kid. Like, and we would never be able to, I mean, we were teenagers, but still we would never be able to go into Chuck E. Cheese just to play games and like act like assholes now, even if we were 15, right? Or 16. We ended up getting banned from Chuck E. Cheese. I can't remember. I think Catherine wrote a dirty note to the son, the manager's son, who was like 14 also, or like 16. We're 16 because we drove there. And so I remember the last time we went in, we went in and we we went in our cheerleading outfits, right? And we had these stupid accents, and we said because our cheerleading was BCHS, so we called it Bile County High School. Why the fuck we said the word bile? I don't know if we didn't know what bile was at that point, but we were Bile County High School. We just wanted to check out Lakewood's fucking Chuck E. Cheese. I was 16 and she was 15. No, we might have been 17 and 16. It doesn't matter at this point. I just know I drove. And so we like won our tickets, our tokens. And then there was a cute boy that was behind the thing that was like turning in the tickets for prizes. And we got our prizes and we flirted with him a little bit. And then Catherine wrote him a dirty note. And by dirty note, it was like, we were trying to be stupid. Like, we want to touch your ding dong. Like, it wasn't, I mean, in those days, like Catherine and I tried to get kicked out. I think I told you guys this last episode. We tried to get kicked out of everywhere. Like, we unplugged all the video games once at Funplex. Like, we just always tried to get kicked out of everywhere. So we wrote him a stupid note, and then we went to go put our shoes in my trunk so we could play around in the tunnels. We were so tall too. We weren't like short 15, 16-year-olds. We were like, like 5'10". Oh my God. I may have to stop this because I'm so scared. If I get murdered on here, nothing's going to murder me. Nothing's going to murder me. So we went to go put our shoes in there, and then we're walking back in barefoot, and the manager stops us and we'd already paid our bill or whatever. I don't know. We didn't have credit cards or anything either. We were like 16, but we had cash maybe. I mean, we both had jobs. I have no idea, but we walk in. And this woman stops us and she goes, "You two can't come in here. You guys need to leave." And I was so used to us getting kicked out all the time that I was just like, all right. And I turned around and Catherine goes, "Wait a minute. Why?" And she goes, "Because I read that inappropriate note you sent to my son." She's like, "Your son? Oh, that's your son." And she was like, "Yeah, don't come back here. You guys are now banned." And I don't know how they enforced it, but we went back years later, right? Like, it was right before my 10-year reunion, and my 20-year reunion was supposed to be last year, 2020, but the world ended, so we didn't have it, which is a real bummer because, man, I killed at that reunion. I fucking crushed the 10-year reunion. I crushed it because, like, I had my first, like, big television debut. It was a reality show. I was on Dating in the Dark, but Dating in the Dark airing on ABC on a Wednesday night, 4 days before my 10-year high school reunion. Are you fucking kidding me? And I grew up to be like a swan. I was like this creepy little duckling in high school. And then I grew up to be like hot. So it was, I crushed it, right? And I didn't care what everybody thought anymore. I mean, I never really did back then. We were super weird back then, but oh my God, my leg is starting to hurt. So we go to Chuck E. Cheese before the 10-year reunion. Now I have my little brother. I think my little brother is like 10 at this point. So it's like, oh, and this is how we found out the new security and shit, like in the 2000s with like kids. Because like we went in and they gave us like stamps that matched each other's stamps. And so we couldn't walk out with another kid or someone else's kid. Like we only could walk out with our kid. And so we took these pictures so you could make these fake IDs, and she got hers. Hers was, I think, a CIS, a criminal investigation, something, right? CIS. I don't know what that stands for, but she got hers that had that and had like a picture on there. And then mine was an international soccer stardom card. And I will post the video. If I can remember, I'll post it. I keep it in my wallet because it makes me laugh so hard. So everywhere we went the next few days, we would like start talking to someone and then casually pull it out. And then we'd go, "Oh my God, so embarrassing. My international soccer stardom card." And then like you're showing it like you obviously want them to see it, but your words are saying, "I'm so embarrassed that you're looking at my international soccer stardom card." On the back here, it says I'm MVP. And I have this stupid like look on my face. I don't think I've laughed harder in my life. And like at one point I went to the gas station with my cousin Bill, and we walk up and I pay for my thing, but instead of giving him my credit card, I give him an international soccer stardom card. And the guy was like, he looked at me. It's not as funny as I think it was because no one else laughed. But so he's like, the guy was like, looked at me and I go, "Oh, I didn't give you my credit card. I gave you my international soccer stardom card. How embarrassing. I'm an international soccer star." And then I couldn't stop laughing. So I'm like bent over at this gas station, and the guy is just like, ma'am, can you just pay? And there's a line, and my cousin's behind me pretending he doesn't know me. And I'm crying. I'm laughing so hard. So I finally give him my card, and then, that's over. And then we go to the reunion, right? And Catherine was a couple years younger than us, so she crashed the reunion. I don't think she did I don't think she did her CIS thing as much as I did the international soccer tournament. But she's like, I would love watching you. You walk over to a group of people, and you all would be talking, and then all of a sudden you pull the card out and start yelling, and then you'd start laughing, and then they would just stare at you. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much how high school went. Or I would just do something that I thought was just fucking hilarious, and no one laughed, but I did it all night with my international soccer stardom card. I still keep it in my wallet under my license because it makes me laugh so hard. That reunion was so fun. It was like one of the most popular kids, him and his wife, I think they've divorced now. I mean, 100% they divorced, because she and I got along super well, and then she deleted me on Facebook, and they're both they're married to other people, but they're married to people who look almost the same as they did. But the three of us were having a great time, and he was super popular. And so we're doing a shot, and he's like, yo, like, why weren't we friends in high school? You're fucking rad. And I was like, oh, I was really ugly in high school, and you were kind of mean. And he's like, oh. And I'm like, it's fine. We're adults now. Who holds on to that? Like, you were a kid. You were a high school kid. There was a hierarchy, right? But then we did a shot, and then we all had fun. I don't know what I'm saying. I have a crush, you guys. I have a crush on someone, and he and I were messaging. We were texting a bunch back and forth. Like, I shot my shot, and I'll tell you about the Bumble guy. Remember the Bumble guy from a couple of months ago, where I was like, oh, we matched on Bumble, and then I followed him on Instagram because his photos were really pretty. And then I missed the match, or he missed the match, but I followed him, and I wasn't sure if I should say anything. And then I got a bunch of emails from you guys that were like, yeah, you should totally shoot your shot for sure. And I did. And I didn't get rejected, but I didn't not get rejected. So I wrote him and was just like, hey, this may be weird. I don't know, but we matched on Bumble a couple of months ago, and I followed you on Instagram because you had really pretty photos. And then we missed our match. I didn't say I missed the match or he missed the match. I just said we missed our match. So I just thought I'd say hi here. And he was like, oh my God, hi. He was like, that's so awesome. I love that you reached out to me. Thank you so much. And then he was like, I actually got off Bumble because I've decided to be on a solo journey for a while. And I'm going to keep on that for a bit, but I really dig that you reached out. And I was just like, oh, all right. And I was like, totally get it, man. I was on a solo journey for a bit. That's why I hopped on Bumble, but totally get it. Glad you wrote back. Then he follows me. And then he messages me back, and then we start messaging, but it's just kind of like, all right, like weird small talk. I'm like, well, are you looking for a friend? Like, what the fuck's happening? He's still so hot, and his photos are so cool. I think he might be out of my league. I don't know. He's not out of my league in terms of like hotness, but like, I'm maybe not out of my league. He just like rock climbs and shit. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that. I broke my ankle possibly from running. And broke my wrist from skipping. I don't know how bad I would like to, get out in the world and rock climb. Not that whatever. But so we're like, we exchanged a couple of weird texts back and forth. Not weird texts, like they were fine, but it was just kind of like, all right. So like forced small talk almost, right? So finally, I just said, my mouth is super dry. I'm sorry if you can hear my so gross. So finally, I was just like, all right, well, if when you get back out there and you want to grab a cup of coffee, my DMs are always open, right? Like something probably smoother than that. Maybe not. I don't even know if that was smooth. I just got really embarrassed, but I said that. And then he wrote back, yeah, I would love to get a cup of coffee now. I'm always up for that. I'm just really busy the next couple of weeks. So I'll reach out as soon as I get back in town, and I'd love to get a cup of coffee with you. And I'm like, I can't tell do you understand I'm hitting on you? Like, I don't want to be your friend, buddy. Like, I'm not interested in your friendship, but maybe I am. Who knows? But like, it was just like, I was just like, oh, I just liked the thing. I was like, okay. And then he followed me on Instagram, and he likes a bunch of my shit. I don't know. So I shot my shot. I did not get rejected, but I didn't not get rejected. That's the best way. Like he wasn't like, yeah, let's go out. It was just like, no, I'm doing my own thing. I was like, oh. And in my experience, if someone is doing their own thing, although I usually date guys with very few boundaries, codependent, some sort of alcohol problem. Maybe this is a guy who's just, oh, I have a heart murmur and sometimes it goes off. That's wild. I haven't felt that in a long time. Sorry. But like, I usually date like codependent guys who have just zero boundaries, and maybe he has boundaries and is like, oh no, maybe he will reach out. I don't know. I wished him a happy birthday the other day and he thanked me and then he liked a bunch of my photos. I don't know. Dating is weird. So I have this crush on this guy. We went out years and years ago, and it was probably one of the worst dates I've ever had in my life. It was just, he like brought his friend. He was really weird about like, and maybe this is my sign. Like I've already read this book, but he got really drunk, and then he like got really upset about his ex-girlfriend and how he had no money, and then he wouldn't buy me any. Not that I don't need you to buy me a drink, but he brought his friend, and then he like got me a glass for the pitcher, and then was like, I can't spend any money tonight though, so your drinks are on you. I was like, and then he kept trying to kiss me. It was like, but this was like 9 years ago, right? Like a really long time ago. And before that, he was awesome. But then he spent the whole night like crying about his ex-girlfriend. I like left in the middle of the day. Good on me though, right? Like normally my self-esteem ways would tell you that I would have stayed the whole time. But and now I'm just like a little nervous that he'll be listening to this. I don't think he will. I think he stopped responding to me, but which is so weird. But like he's been in the ether, like he's been around for years, right? He moved away for a while and then he came back, then he got sober. And I want to date a guy. The next person I date either will be sober or won't drink that much. I've dated the party guy. I've dated the guy that's like, oh, I got really fucked up the other day. It's not what I'm looking for in my life anymore. And I don't really do that anymore. So and I'm codependent, as we've talked about. I'm fucking codependent. So if I fall in love with a guy who's a big party guy, I have more faith in myself than saying I would jump off my like self-love train, but it'd be hard. And also I don't want to date a guy that has. There was a guy that I liked for a long time ago. I recently saw him and he was like, yeah, I got blacked out last night and like puked. I was like, you're like 45. Like what? 46. I don't know how old he is, but he's like in his late 40s. And like, I just don't find that attractive anymore. But so this guy I have like a crush on. I had a crush on him years ago. Then we went on that date and it sucked. And then he like texted me the next day and was like, morning sunshine, how's your Sunday? And I was like, what? I left in the middle of the date. Do you not remember? But so he got sober, and now I've been watching him on social media, and his life is just night and day. And I'm like, maybe now we can like hang out. Like maybe we're just different people. It's been 9 years. Maybe we can hang out. So I like messaged him, and I didn't say all of this, which hopefully he's not listening. If you are, hey, but I messaged him just to be like, we should just hang out. Like not like no pressure, but like we should go on a hike or something. I mean, I've hurt my ankle, and same thing. He was like texting me back and forth a bunch. And then at first you could tell it was like, okay, I'm good. You could tell he wasn't really sure what my angle was, which I totally would feel the same way. Like 9 years ago after that first date. And my friend said when she saw him out like 5 years ago, he was out and she was bartending and he was at the bar and my name came up and he was like, oh man, I went on a date with Kim Kral once and I blew it because I talked about shitting my pants. And this woman's my best friend. And she goes, wait, I'm sorry. Are you talking about Kim Kral? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, yeah, that's probably not why you ruined it. You probably did something else that ruined it because she loves a good shit pants story. I don't remember him telling me a story about shitting his pants. I don't think that happened. I probably would have given him another chance, even though everything else was such a train wreck. But so anyway, it was like 4 or 5 days of just like casual talking and like, what we've been up to and how we are and like blah, blah, blah. But then like the last like 2 days we've been really texting and then he just stopped responding. And I'm like, is this just how it goes? And then maybe this is just the universe being like, girl, you've read this book. You already know how it ends. It ends with a lot of weird crying. I mean, he didn't really cry, but he kind of did. I don't know. So TBD. I've been wanting to say that for a while. TBD on that, to be determined. But and also he didn't respond to me. He hasn't responded to me for one day. One day. I don't know anything about this man's life. I haven't seen him in 5 years. I haven't been a part of his life in 5 years. Like, I know nothing of this man's life except for what he's telling me now. He could very well have a girlfriend. I don't think so, because he says he goes to bed every night at like 8:30. So I don't think so. And I think he probably would have mentioned the girlfriend in the week and a half we've been texting. Why am I overanalyzing this over the podcast? Because now I'm going to be all paranoid that he's going to listen to it, whatever. If you're listening to this and you haven't messaged me back, fucking message me back and tell me that pooping your pants story, because I'm out of poop scoops, you guys. I'm out of poop scoops. I mean, my whole life has been a bit of a poop scoop the last like 3 weeks. Just a lot of close calls. A lot of times too, where I've thought, if you poop your pants, you'll have something to talk about on next week's Crawl Space. So instead of having me do that, I would like you to send me your poop scoops. You can write them out. You can speak them into your voice memos. Do you know what I mean? Like, you pull up your phone and you speak them into the voice memo. And I'm not going to transcribe them. I'm just going to put them in the podcast with your voice. So I hope that's okay. You don't have to say your name. You can say your name, but put them in. Just, leave me a voice memo and I'll put it in the podcast, and it'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. I'll even put it to music. I have this whole idea, but I need people to send me their poop scoop stories via voice memo. Maybe I ought to have more of an effort than just me saying it like this. I will put more of an effort forth, but send me your poop scoops. And I am going to check my DMs. All right. I wrote down, this is why my DMs give me anxiety. You ready for this? Let's find it. Why has, he just wrote back. Oh, that's disregard everything that I just said. This is why DMs, I have 400 DMs that are like this. This guy, girl, I don't know. Hey there, I spoke with you on speaker. Antonio, my apologies. Did I offend anyone yesterday? I have no idea who this is. Ha. Okay, it just dawned on me that this person may be a listener of the show, and I don't want to offend anybody, but I have 400 DMs from dudes that are like, hey, hi, how are you? Hello, hi, I love your cat. Your picture's pretty. I bought your book. Hi, hey, hello, with no response, right? And it's just so many messages and I get it. Like, I'm sitting here being like, I'm blowing up 2 dudes' DMs. But by the way, if both those dudes did not respond to me, like if I was like, hey, how are you? It's been a while, like whatever. And then he never responded to me. This dude that just wrote back, I'm very excited, but he just wrote back 7 minutes ago. So I need to be cool. Be cool, Kim Kral. Don't fucking write him back right away. Write him back tomorrow. Do we play games on Crawl Space? I don't know, man. It has been, I don't think I have dated healthily ever. I am trying to, but the men and women of Los Angeles have not made it easy now that I'm all healthy and shit, right? The only 2 fellas I have in my life right now, one keeps trying to get me to go to sex parties, and the other one just wants a blowjob because Russell Wilson's in the fucking Broncos now, which I probably will, because I do want to have sex with him eventually again. But I'm trying to date like healthily. So like, I don't know. So I'm telling everyone to shoot their shots or whatever, but I'm talking about like the incessant hi. There's one dude who has said, hello, beautiful, good night, beautiful, every day almost for like 3 years without me responding. It's so weird. I just don't but so I'm going to go through my DMs in the next couple of days, especially after I find out more about my foot. I'm imagining it's fine. I'm imagining she'll be like, it might be a boy. I don't know if the doctor will be like, might be a boy. Will be like, hey, just stay off of it as much as possible. So while I'm off of it as much as possible, I'll be going through all my DMs. So the point of all that was a big spiral that I didn't anticipate having. I just had a massive spiral. It was a roller coaster. Glad you were there for it. But send me your DMs or send me kimcrawlspace@gmail.com ideally. But if you want to put them in, but do it on a voice memo so I can save it to my computer and put it on here. I think I can do it another way. But please, please, please send me your poop scoops, or I will just be forced to shit my pants somewhere public and embarrassing just to get a story. Yeah, I'm really excited that he texts back. I'm not, for the record, I have no expectations. I'm just excited and I have a little crush. And I haven't had a little crush on someone since the guy who lives in Seattle, who I have not dated in 2 years because I have held on to that for 2 years. So now I'm trying to date and I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm doing a lot of shit I've never done before so I can get a lot of shit that I've never gotten before. That's what you do, right? Oh man, guys, this was fun to record. I love the International Soccer Stardom card. I will remember to post that because it is seriously one of the funniest things. I think that's it. Why am I one lucky broad? I'm one lucky broad that I am. I know that I shouldn't be hesitating this much, but I'm trying to do more than what I usually. I'm trying to be a little bit more, not do the same one every fucking week. But I'm one lucky broad that I'm insured and that I'm able to go to the doctor tomorrow and not have to super worry about, it costing me $100,000. Knock on wood. I don't know how much would a surgery cost. Fuck. Stay out of the records of the future, everybody. But yeah, I'm one lucky broad that I have insurance, that I have enough savings that if I am not able to work, I'll be able to figure it out. And maybe there will be something cool that'll come of sitting around for 6 weeks. That will help me figure out how not to bartend anymore, because you all know that that's a big goal. So I am trusting in the divine. I am trusting in the divine. Yeah, things are looking up. I imagine I sound night and day than I did last week. I feel night and day, except for this fucking foot. It's so annoying. It's more annoying than anything. But all right, everybody. That's it. That's all from me. One more. Okay, so I ask you guys every week to write me a review, and one person did. Well, a lot of people have, but one person did. I'm trying to figure out where, and I want to read it. So I used to read all the crawl space. Why am I normally have it. I used to read all the crawl space reviews when I would get them, to be like, hey, send me a review. They make me really happy. And no one has written me a review in a long time until a couple of weeks ago. And this one made me laugh so hard. And thank you so much, Ollie Ben Allen. I think Ollie Ben Allen. Thank you so much. Thank you for the review one. And then I love I don't know. They 5 stars, said fascinating in all capital letters, just completely fascinated in all capital letters by this podcast. Kim is very, all capital letters, interesting person to be sure. Thank you so much. After I read them fascinating, I laughed so hard. I don't think anybody's ever called me fascinating before. A guy named Brian Bailey years and years ago called me an enigma. And then I was really drunk and he called me an enigma. And then the next day he goes, after I called you that, because I didn't remember it because I was super drunk, he said that I grabbed him, looked really close in his eyes and whispered, you may be the devil. And I ran away. And I don't know what that means. That's why I don't party as hard as I used to, because nobody wants to be around that girl. But fascinating. So thank you so much, Ollie Ben Allen, for leaving me a review. If you get a chance, please leave a review. They make me really, really happy. Like this one brightened up my whole day. And if you can share it, if you can share the podcast, if you can, give it a like, give it a share, subscribe, all that good stuff that I always ask you guys to do. And if you want to become a Patreon subscriber, I would love it if you did, if you were able. If not, then I love that you listen this way too. All supports me and I really appreciate it. And I am just really grateful to be here. I'm really grateful that you guys show up every week. Even when it's tough for me to show up, the last few weeks have been really hard for me. And knowing that, I have people that want to listen to me gets me here every week. And I always feel a little bit better after getting to just chat and tell dumb stories for, an hour. It just means a lot to me. Thank you guys so much. I will talk to you next week. Have a good week. Be safe. Be kind. Bye.